Hi everyone, today we're going to be taking some sky flats. This is important because you need to apply them to your actual image so that you can
correct for noise.
And can get a clear image. To do this, what we're going to do is leave the telescope at zenith and just let the sky drift past. And after that, we're going to unfocus the telescope by going into the main focus right here, and then the focus tool, which we already have checked here, and that's what this little window here is. And just make sure that this is about 10,000, and then you can hit focus, and that will actually put it out of focus, which is what we want for this. So to begin taking the flats, what you want is you want to make sure your exposure type is sky flats. You can, for object, you can just write flats, and then you want to make sure you have your initials in the observer's spot. You'll want to start creating a save pathway, but to do that you click on this little gear here. Within the save pathway you want to make sure you put the date as the numbers here, year, month, day, and this should be in universal time. So even though it's the 26th here, we write the 27th because that's the universal date. For file name, you should make sure it's relatively short. Here I've written sky flats R because we're going to be taking flats in the red filter. Always make sure that the number starts at 1 right here. To start taking flats, we're going to begin with an exposure time of 0.1 seconds, and we're taking these flats at 8 p.m., just barely after sunset. So here is the image that is read out. You can see that right now the value is at 25. This means that it's below 40 and above 20, so we can go ahead and up the exposure time a little bit. At an exposure time of 0.25, we have a value of about 47, 48 in here, which is really high and means that we need to go ahead and give it a little bit of time. After a couple minutes, we can expose for an exposure time of 0.3 seconds. And here now we're getting another nice value, a little bit below 40. We're going to give it another few minutes. It is now 8:05, and we're going to try to do another exposure at 0.3 seconds. And now we're down into the 25, 26 level for the counts. And so we're going to go ahead and up that exposure time to 0.5, and we're going to expose it again. So as you can see, the counts are around 40,000, and we would like them to be more towards 20 before we again increase the exposure time to avoid saturation of the CCD. It's now 8:08, and we're going to do another exposure at 0.5 seconds. And here we're getting values of about 25, 24 counts, which is good, and that means we can now increase the exposure time once again. And we'll put that up to 1 second. And now you can see after exposing it for a second, we're at a little bit over 40, so we're going to give it a little more time before increasing the exposure time again. It is now 8:11 p.m. and we can go ahead and test another 1 second exposure. Here we can see we have counts about 25,000 throughout, which means that we can go ahead and increase this exposure time a little bit. And after increasing it to 1.5, it's still below the 40,000 limit, so we're going to go ahead and bring the exposure time all the way up to 2 seconds now. The counts here are just a little bit over 40, so we want to give it just a few seconds until the counts drop below 40. We'll do a final test image and then we'll be ready to take our actual flats. Okay, it's been about 30 seconds, so we're going to go ahead and do a test exposure of 2 seconds. And here we have a wonderful count, about 36,000 throughout, which is perfect. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and make sure we take at least 5 images, and we already did our save route, so we're going to go ahead and hit save images, and then we can expose.
Here you should actually reduce the count down from 5 to 1, however I forgot to do this.
So now that this is done, you're going to go to your filter wheel and you're going to go to your next one on the list, which if you contact Dr. Fallshear or if you look at her supplements, she has a list that has the order in which you should take flats if you plan to do so. So next for us is green, and so we're going to go over here, we're going to go ahead and uncheck the save images and change our save pathway to say G, and then you want to make sure this is back down to 1. And this all should be done pretty fast, and you should go ahead and take your test image just right at 2. And as you can see, we're getting values of about 30, which is still good. So after these test images read out, we can go ahead and save the images. Okay, we'll hit save images and go ahead and expose these. Okay, and next we're going to go to our last one we're going to do here. We're going to do a flats in blue. And we'll go ahead and change the save to blue. And make sure this is at 1 again. And bring this back down to 1 for the test image. Forgot to do that last time. And go ahead and expose it to 2 seconds. So at 2 seconds, it looks like we're getting 38,000 counts, which is excellent and perfect. So we're going to go ahead and save the images, make sure this is back to 5, and go ahead and expose. And there you have it. Now you have 5 flats of each of 3 filters. It's important to know that your filters may be different when you take sky flats depending on what filter you want to use for when you take your light images. You should make sure to take flats in every filter that you plan to use in your light images. Additionally, it can be one after another once the brightness outside is right for the first one. For example, with red, green, and blue, they all do best around the same time, so you kind of have to be quick for flats. It's very time sensitive. If need be, like if you get to the end, if you're at the blue and you're dropping below 20,000 counts, then you can go ahead and up the exposure time to like 3 seconds to get the amount of counts you need. And that is all. Now you know how to take flats. Congratulations.